Before we start, no, I didn't get punched in the nose. They had to take a couple things off my nose yesterday, so I'm bandaged up for a few days. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Okay, good first day. Couldn't ask for any better weather. I told some of the new guys, I said, this is mid-October weather right here. I mean, this is certainly not typical Eastern North Carolina, beginning of preseason camp weather. But so they got lucky with that. But exciting day. Every year's a new year. Every team's a new team, and that certainly applies to this group. And had some guys that you hope are going to look a certain way, and kind of guys that have been here, and you hope they're going to step up. And we saw some guys do that today. Saw some new guys. They got to learn how we practice and kind of how we work, and that's okay. That's what you expect. I mean, every place in the country doesn't do things the same way. So, but had a lot of enthusiasm. Of course, with the new rule that they passed last week, you had more guys out there today than you've ever had before, with 120 instead of the typical 110. So, some guys, they'll get their first reps tomorrow. Some of the freshmen, they're just kind of, figuring out how we're functioning today. But overall, very positive first day. We are in helmets, so we all know that's not really real. But a very positive first day, and be good film this afternoon and get ready for tomorrow.
So many new DBs and receivers, so when they are doing kind of the skill work, how fun is that competition early on?
Well, there's going to be a lot of competition. That's the one thing you see is, it's not like there's, 3 receivers and then a huge drop-off. You got to figure out who the guys are, but you got a lot of guys, and you got a lot of guys that can play. Same thing in the secondary. You're going to have a tremendous amount of competition at all 4 secondary spots, and a tremendous amount of competition on offense at wideout. It'll help us. It'll make us better.
Speaking of those DBs in the secondary, it seems like you really tried to add a lot of length.
Yep.
There in the offseason.
Yeah, both in the secondary and at the second level, linebacker, outside linebacker position. We're longer, we're faster. We're very athletic. Now we gotta learn how to play together. You gotta get everybody on the same page, get everybody gelling. Playing as one unit. But we certainly have added some new dimensions on that side.
This is your first year with all of your players that you
Right.
brought in. Just kind of assess that and what you like and what you kind of try to build with this roster for these
Right.
5 years.
Well, I think as you look at the roster as a whole, it's the depth is very solid. The roster is very solid. You don't have the 1 or 2 marquee guys that have had huge seasons the year before coming back. Those guys, they're playing professionally right now, and that's what we want for our guys. But as a whole, the roster is very healthy. You have a lot of guys that are competing for playing time. We're big, we're strong, we're athletic. Now we got to figure out who's who and put those pieces in the right spots. But we're very pleased with where the roster is.
Speaking of the roster and the new guys, so many leaders left last year. Do you feel like it's almost like a cultural reset with so many new guys stepping up to those leader positions?
Well, you had some leaders that left, but you also have a lot of leaders returning. I mean, that D-line group has been starting for 3 years. I mean, they've played a lot of snaps. You got a tight end that's started for 3 years. He's played a lot of snaps. You got a running back that was, as good as there was in this conference his freshman year. So you've got a lot of leaders returning too. So I think that it's just, different guys stepping into different roles.
At quarterback, how much is the evaluation start today, and how much is it with the scrimmages that come off in a couple of weeks?
Well, with the competition we have across the board at every position, the evaluation is every day. And you don't throw anybody out because they didn't have a great day, and you don't crown somebody just because they had a great day. The evaluation is going to be the full body of work for preseason camp. Certainly, I thought we had 3 quarterbacks that functioned at a very high level today. It was good to see Raheem. I told him after the first drive of team, I said, well, that certainly didn't look like the spring. And then part of it was he had snaps that actually hit him in the hand. Every snap, so that helps him. But I thought he looked very composed, and so now you feel like you can function with your third quarterback. Alex and Mason look like experienced guys today. Both of them had a solid day.
How did the offensive line hold up? The heat was not there as much,
No.
but they had a new coach this
Right,
year. So
new coach and a lot of new combinations. The first group today was, a lot of guys that have been in the program. And then you got some guys in that second group that are new to the program. You're going to see a lot of shuffling in that group. I think that we do have the ability this year where we don't have to sit here and just play 5. I think we're going to be able to play 8, 9 guys up front on offense. And so it's just figuring out who goes where and getting those guys reps, because you're going to have guys that are going to play, a couple of different positions. You just got to get those guys reps together.
Speaking of the offensive line, who is like a vocal leader up there in that group?
Well, I think Parker Moore and Hampton Ergel, 2 guys that have been in the program and have played a lot of ball. I think those 2 guys are the 2 that kind of jump to mind immediately when you talk about leaders in that room. But you have some veteran guys that I think will emerge in time that are new to our program that have played a lot of ball too, that I think will have some leadership abilities.
What did it mean to have Rajay back, and then how do you have to be cautious just kind of working him back into the mix, even though he is fully cleared?
He's fully cleared. He has no restrictions. The athletic training staff, they'll work with him to see if there's ever a day where we need to take a little bit off of him or whatever. But I told him that I'm not going to be hesitant with him during preseason camp. He is an experienced back. By the time we make that trip September 2nd, I want him fully confident and fully ready to go so that he can be Rajay Harris.
Is that a mental side too that he has to get through?
That's what he and I have talked about. We've talked probably more about that. I think from the neck down, he's full go. I think it's just, it's been 8 months, and the first day of contact, I told him, I said, you're going to need to run somebody over and pop up, and you're going to need to juke somebody, and you're going to get tackled, and then pop up and go play the next play. But that's anybody that's had that injury, they've got to go through that. But he will. He'll handle it just fine. He looked very, very good today.
Quarterback Alex, just what changes have you seen in him through this last year that's made him get to this position where he's competing for quality playing time?
Well, I think his commitment is the biggest change, and not that he was never an underachieving effort guy, but his commitment changed last year, and his commitment in the weight room, his commitment to taking care of his body. I think he's become a lot more confident, a lot more assertive, and so he has really improved dramatically. Probably from last spring a year ago to right now, and and that's the reason he's made himself a guy that's in the competition. I said that back in the spring. Mason looked as good today as he's looked since he's been here. He looked like a veteran guy that's ready to play. It's just Alex has improved also.
Coach, you talked about depth at offensive line. Do you see that at other positions where you're going to be able to pop guys in and maybe have that just like full gas?
Well, I think that's what I'm talking about with the full roster. I think we see that across the board. It's the days of us having to play 4 guys on the D line are over. I think we're going to play multiple guys in the secondary, multiple guys at linebacker. We're going to play multiple running backs. The receiver core, like I said, I may not know who the guy is yet, okay, but I know we got several guys. And I thought we had several of those guys stand out today. So I think we've got a lot of competition, and we're going to be able to play a lot of guys. I think that's good for everybody.
It sounds like you're really confident in the eye test.
Oh, we looked the part. It's a good-looking roster. It's a good-looking roster. I think anybody that was out there at the beginning of practice saw that.
Do you like, from the outside looking in, the no preseason all conference, the no names that are out there? Do you like that approach? Is it different for you? Or how do you kind of embrace that or use that to your advantage?
I think it just gives you a little bit of a chip on the shoulder deal. That's what I told the team last night. I said, we got a bunch of dudes in this room. Just the people outside of this building don't know they're dudes yet. It's our job to make sure that they come through.
With the first day of practice wrapping up, what's your schedule like for the rest of the week as they transition into football practice?
Well, they get a little bit of time. We go to eat lunch, and they get a little bit of time this afternoon, and we'll come back in this afternoon for meetings, and then dinner, and we'll walk through tonight. I know it's not really hot, but we try to do our walkthroughs at night to stay out of the heat. But we're in helmets today and tomorrow. We'll be in shells Friday and Saturday, and then shells on Monday, and then we'll be full pads, early middle of next week. So it'll start getting a little more competitive Friday when you put shoulder pads on. With this bunch, sometimes ain't a whole lot of difference. They ain't gonna tackle each other, but they're gonna hit each other. So And the more you get towards that full padded practice and the more competitive situations you put them in, the more it ramps up. And that's the one thing I don't worry about this group is they're going to compete and they're going to push each other. So, and that's a good thing. It'll help us. All right. Thanks a lot. Good to see you guys again.